As we found our way working ourselves into this homesteading lifestyle that we live, it wasn't really intentional to begin with. We didn't wake up one day and say, hey, we're gonna start a homestead. More, we were just looking at making changes in our family, providing things for our kids that ended up leading us down this road. One of the big factors that played into that was self-reliance. We want to be more self-reliant, and so that's where coming into growing our own food came from, and wanting to own some property that we could raise our own animals on. The one thing that's been the biggest concern for us is power. How do we provide power to maintain these animals? Biggest thing is we have our own well system. That's where we get our water from, and providing that water for our animals would be difficult without power.
Oh, come on. Hey, all that working out and you can't open a water bottle?
That's been something that's been a struggle for us over the years. We had thought of a few options of putting like a hand pump. I'll show you in a minute what that would look like if we had to hand pump it. But we decided this last fall that we were gonna put solar on our house. When I say we were gonna put solar on our house, I really mean we paid somebody else to do it, because that is just a big job. So we actually partnered with a company, ES Solar. They gave me a cool hat. We partnered with them to put solar on our house and help us be more self-reliant in that way, so we can own our own power grid. So we partnered with ES Solar to put panels on our house, and they did the complete install for us. We didn't have to do any of the work, which was wonderful. So now we own our own power. I wanted to show you a little bit about what our system looks like. We got a pretty big system. We use a lot of power. I don't know what the average is. We use about 45 kilowatts a day. I don't know where that fits in, but it's a lot of power in my opinion. So we ended up with 31 365 watt panels. What does that equal to? That's a total, hang on. So that is 11 kilowatts. We got 11 kilowatts of energy we can produce. So far, we've only maxed out at 10. We've had it for like 3 days running, so we've maxed out at about 10 kilowatts we're producing at a time. Each of those solar panels has its own microinverter, and then that comes down to a separate inverter. And then we have just a series of switches to turn off the panels themselves and the main system. In the garage, we had this battery installed, 10 kilowatt hour battery that we have installed here. We also have a bunch of chickens that are trying to kill each other right now. This battery is what has actually made this work for us. Without the battery, the system would not be more self-reliant. It's just a way of shifting the power from coming from the grid to coming from ourselves, but we still, without the battery, would be reliant on the grid at all times. So the inverter that we got is a grid tie inverter. That's why the battery was necessary to make it work for us. Without that, once the grid goes down, our power goes down anyway. With the battery, we've got a dual system going at the same time, so we're still tied to the grid. We're not completely off grid. We're still tied to the grid, but we've got our own power, so if the grid goes down, we can still produce our own power with the battery backup. So it's not just a complete grid tie system, which would be, it's kind of useless in my opinion, because once the power goes down, you lose power either way. This way, we can maintain our own power at all times. As I said before, we are dependent on our own well for water, which if you're running a homestead, you most likely are yourself. In our case, as you may know, we have only 1 acre. So it's not a huge space to have to get water to. But if we did have to haul water, we would have to haul it from here, this is the cows, or back there. You can see that white thing, that little white tower sticking up. That's where the pig's water is. We'd have to go from there all the way up.
Clear across the yard. The longest walk ever.
We have our well housing. Now, if you're like a plumber or you dig wells, that thing's probably terrible. I I don't know what to tell you about it. That's where our well is. If you can see, all the way back there past those. That's where we would be carrying our water to. The distance equates to probably something like 200 feet of hauling water. At the moment, we have 7 cows. They can drink up to 30 gallons a day, which comes out to about 250 gallons of water that I would have to carry this whole distance. That's a lot of water. I don't want to do that. So we were worried, especially the biggest deal is in the winter. That is 90% of the time when our power goes out, which it almost goes out every winter for at least a day, just because of our icy roads, icy conditions around here. So I don't want to have to worry about that. Back here by these little pigs, you can see the water back there. It'd be like 300 to 400 feet that I'd be carrying that water. They don't drink nearly as much, but they are also contained by this electric fence. Without this electric fence, we'd have pigs everywhere. We don't have any fencing back here to keep them in. It is connected to the grid. We don't have solar electric fence like a lot of people do. We could do that option. That is an option. With this, we know it's running as long as the house is running, so we don't have to worry about it. When I first talked to ES Solar about this, they came to us and said, hey, we'd like to put solar panels on your house. And I had already been interested in solar. I was intending to do it myself. It would probably have taken me about 5 years to do what they did in 3 days. But they said, hey, we'd like to do it, but we also noticed that you have a YouTube channel. Would you mind promoting it for us on our YouTube channel? And I said, that's great. I wouldn't mind that, except I want something for our viewers. And they delivered. We came to a deal that part of their promotion is they provide a cash payment for anybody who signs up. So they'll just give you like $500 if you sign up. It depends on their promotion they've got going at the time. But it's usually between $500 and $1,000 depending on whether you just get panels or if you get the battery with it. And I said, I'm willing to make this deal with you if you will double that for anybody who clicks on the link that we have listed below and signs up through us. They agreed to it, so if you click on the link and they come to your house and you end up signing up for their solar, they will actually double what their normal rate is that they're paying, their normal promotion rate. That is a benefit for you. I made this for you! We can't really speak to how well the solar is working out for us yet, as we've only had it for 3 days. We're gonna make a video down the road about cost, how much energy we're producing, and how this is working out as far as being able to run independent. But I can speak to what the process of getting it installed was like. And I'll admit, it was a bit of a process. Not on the part of ES Solar, but really on the part of the county and the power company, because they all have to approve all of our plans. They have to do inspections because we're tying into their grid. And so it was a bit of a process to make that all work out. ES Solar handled all of that for us. We didn't have to pull a permit or anything. They did everything for us. We just had to sign a few documents and kind of wait it out. I'm incredibly impatient, and so I bugged them quite a bit, just trying to figure out where we're at and making sure things were on track. But they handled everything. Super, super awesome. So like I said, the installation took 3 days, partially because we have an older house. There was some things that not structurally were wrong with the house, but made it a little bit more difficult. They had to move a few things around, but they handled it all, not a problem. They had a pretty good sized crew, and this is a big system. So it took them a whole day to do all the electrical, which part of that was we had to put a whole new panel in the house because the old panel was gonna burn the house down. It was kind of a fire hazard. And they were really good about keeping us up to date on where the project was at, as far as how plans were approved, where the city was at with their approval process, where the power company was at with their approval process. So kudos to ES Solar, they did a great job. We're pretty happy with how they've done. I've had 2 other companies do any work on our house. I generally do all the work myself because I don't trust people, because we've had 2 other people do projects on our house. One was a furnace in a different house we owned. They totally botched it. They actually left an 8-inch hole in our roof. that I had to figure out how to fix. The second one was the windows that we got put on this house. It was an absolute nightmare. They got the wrong windows like 4 times. They knocked out a window before they realized they had the wrong window, so then they had to like change walls to make a window. Yeah. Anyway, get the point. I don't like people working on our house. These guys did a wonderful job. In fact, they even pointed out some issues that were previously there in our house as far as some water damage was happening with the roof on one of the flange, what do you call it? The flashing, on some flashing that needs to be fixed. So they even spotted that and pointed it out for us. So they did a wonderful job. One of the cool things that they have is with this inverter comes an app. You can kind of see it there. So through this app, you can see how much power we're producing. You can see how much power we're currently consuming and how much we're sending out to the grid. With our power company, Rocky Mountain Power, we are able to sell our power back to them at what they call a 1-to-1 ratio. So we sell it to them at the same rate that they sell it to us. And what this will do is if we produce more energy than we buy back from them, it'll cancel out and we'll never have to pay them ever again. Also, you can see in this app how much energy we've produced, how much of that we've actually used versus how much we've sold back to them, how much we've consumed from them, and how much of our own power we've used. And then you can just see some graphs of it, and it'll have a report of like monthly or yearly use as we get down the road with this. And that's what we'll use to kind of give you an idea how beneficial this has actually been for us. The theory is we will never pay the power company ever again. We will pay for the panels and that's it. It should cancel out all of our power bill with the power company. So Rocky Mountain Power should never send us a bill ever again. They'll probably send us a report every month of where we're at as far as that trade-off back and forth. We may pay for some this month. I'm not sure where we are in the billing cycle, but that's awesome for Idaho and Utah specifically. If you're with Rocky Mountain Power, ES Solar is only providing this in Idaho and Utah. So if you're outside of Idaho and Utah, you're gonna have to go somewhere else besides ES Solar to do something like this. I don't know who. Good luck. So that is one reason also why we decided to go with this, is because that benefit of never having to pay the power company again. Our rates are set for the solar panels. We did finance them, and it was a pretty sizable purchase. So we did finance that, but we're gonna pay the same amount forever until these panels are sold off, after which we will never pay another penny for our power ever again. But as energy prices increase over time, we should stay the same. So our energy costs will not increase. So there's that side of it as well. But as I said before, we will post a video here in the next few months, kind of giving a rundown of our cost and how productive these have been for us once we get some more data to see how useful they actually are. At that point, we can give you a better idea of, you know, whether we're actually paying the power company or not. We'll probably do one here in just like a month or two, and then we'll go like another 6 months once we get into winter, so we can see exactly how that works through winter, because that's where our big challenge is. With our dark winters, we're not going to produce nearly as much electricity as we are now.
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
That's the few main reasons that we did it. Is 1, to keep our costs consistent, 2, to become more self-reliant, and 3, I don't think there is a 3, just those 2. We'll let you know how it goes. I really suggest ES Solar. They gave us a cool hat for it too. Also gave me some chocolates, so I mean, you can't go wrong with that. They are a great company to work with. They've been wonderful for us. So anyway, like I said, click that link below if you're interested, because they will give you double the bonus that they gave us. So that's an awesome thing for you. We'll catch you guys later.